Hello, friends. My name's Puesto Enrico. I am the Puesto de Taquiendo de Famoso de Piplioples. And what that means is that I'm one of the world's 3 most important men. Number 1, Jimmy Fallon, obviously. Number 2, Jesus. And number 3, me. Although I may have overranked Jimmy Fallon a little bit. I perhaps should have remembered to include Bowser from Shaun on Awe. He's extremely important. Good morning, Winston's mom. I'll tell you what I've got to do. NEET was a hair removal product, yes. But that's not the kind of NEET I'm talking about. The kind of NEET I'm talking about is not in education, employment, or training. Yeah, well, it's used by the Japanese a lot now. Otakus like me are often NEETs as well. Is that a helicopter? Or is it just someone's little logo in his car? Well, I just watched my first show of the new season on Crunchyroll. Oh, that was it. It was Nair. Winston's mom. It wasn't NEET. It was Nair. Yes, I Nair my whole body every morning. I like to be bald as a mole rat. Good morning, Ruben R. So what is that sound? I do believe that's a helicopter. This has got to be the first time I've heard a helicopter up here. I wonder where it is and what it's looking at. For the first show I got to watch an episode of for the new season. It is called My Daughter Left the House and Returned an S-Rank Adventurer. Of course, this show made me cry. Because that's something that Delilah and I have in common. Maybe it's an FI polar thing, I don't know. We love each other a great deal. We're kind of like the father and the daughter in this show. This girl was found in the woods by this guy, and he raised her as his daughter and taught her how to be an adventurer in a classically Swords and Dragons world. There's no reincarnation in this one. In other words, if the girl's from another world, which presumably she might be, we don't know that yet. Aha, here's my glasses. Someone smelled smoke and reported it. Huh. Neat is to nair as treat is to spam. I like your use of a classic analogy format. It's good work there, Ruben. You know what would suck is if on one day of the week, Wonder Point values were multiplied by -2. Then everybody would avoid getting Wonder Points. Well, I don't hear it anymore. So, I guess it must have finished flying around near me. I was just so impressed when I was reading the paper yesterday. And there was an article about homelessness because Mariposa actually does have a small homeless encampment apparently near the Health and Human Services office. All right, we'll watch you eat. God, this guy is so needy. They're just turning around, I guess. Somebody was pulling into my driveway briefly, but they were just turning their truck around. Oh, yes. Daddy knows. Do you want more food? You like your plate more full than that? Trouble is a very good kitty. Yes, he is a very good kitty. Oh, yes. What a needy, needy kitty. Yes. Who's needy as Needy Mark in the Needy Bunch? You are. That's how needy you are. You are a high maintenance cat, let me tell you. If I don't pay adequate attention, anytime I'm not paying attention to him, basically, it's constant meowing at me. He's a little bit like Boba Fett with his MOARs and his stream men. Well, be aware, this live stream has a finite shelf life on it, okay? Because it's almost 8:20. I have a typing session at 10 a.m. Then I have another one at 12 noon. So that's means I'm going to end this stream no later than 9:45. So everybody be aware of that right now. Oh, yes. What a good man. What a good eater. It's not just me. You're impressing people all the way in India. Boba Fett is really impressed. And he's from India. That's a long ways away, Trouble. You're having an impact on the entire world right now. Not just America, but BRIC nations as well. Okay, BRIC nation as well. I think it's really unfair to Brazil and India to lump them in with Russia and China. Trouble is a very good eater. Yes, he is a very good eater. I know you don't like it when your plate doesn't have a lot of food on it, so put more food on your plate, even though you have to be done eating at this point. You already ate this morning. Why are you so needy anyway? Is it because you're from the streets? I'm curious. What a good kitty. What an important eater. Because you think, like, I don't know, prior to forcing his way into Rachel and my family, Trouble didn't have any people, you know. He was a wild stray cat, tomcat. So you'd think he'd be, like, accustomed to being more independent than a regular cat. But Capillo is a million times more independent than he is, in the sense that she doesn't think she needs me or Rachel to do most things in life, you know? When I get up in the morning and I sit in that chair, she'll come sit on the arm of the chair next to me. I'll pet the shit out of her. She'll purr a whole bunch. She'll be super happy. And then probably we won't really get intimate the rest of the day like that. She doesn't meow at me unless she actually needs something that requires my assistance, right? For example, if the only way out of the room is a closed door, and she's in, oh god, I mean, I smelled it, and I got the fan on over here too. Oh, trouble. Capillo makes regular cat shit. Trouble shit just is like biohazard death. Oh. Incidentally, biohazard death was going to be the name of my second child if I had one. Biohazard death Strauss. I thought, hey, you know what? That really works. There. That's better. You just have to be a little bit smart with this object, this tripod. So I've had it for the last couple of days. So that when I go like this, instead of it going forward and backwards like this, it was going side to side like this. I couldn't really figure out what I had done to fix it. And then it finally occurred to me right now how to fix it. Mike Tyson's still a super badass, actually. There's a video of him that was published recently of him doing sit-ups, and then in between each sit-ups, like going pow 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 with his fist. And yeah, I mean, he looked unslowed. He was just like, you know, nobody would want to fuck with that man. It doesn't matter that he was 50-some years old. He's still in shape and is super badass. Yeah. I mean, people age quite differently from one another. And if you look at Martin Short, he's in his 70s. He's still doing kind of like physical ish acting, like falling on the ground from a chair when he has a heart attack in the show. He's quite spry. Mm-mm. I refuse to be a weeb. Weebs are foreigners. I'm a Japanese person, so that makes me an otaku. All right? Deal with it, as they say. As I say. Deal with it. The problem, Boba Fett, is that you're not dealing with it. Once you learn how to deal with it, then we won't have these problems anymore. Who's got not enough good gig where he is? Boop, Boopsy? Oh, you guys are talking about the not debate. Until presidential debates are either held between intelligent people or by intelligent people, I have no interest in watching them. Watching half-wits pantomime discourse is just sickening to me. Half-wits pantomiming discourse is not any sort of entertainment anybody should want to watch, and it certainly doesn't qualify as legitimate political engagement. Until I'm on that stage kicking some ass and taking some names. So I know the Woodland Friends don't necessarily like all of the seeds and the new kind of cutlets as much as they like just straight sunflower seeds. Sunflower seeds are their favorite. But we still have some good wall action. Got several squirrels and blue jays, a couple of blue jays. Are there any regular jays that aren't blue? Or are blue jays the only jays? And if blue jays are the only jays, was it really necessary to add the word blue at all? Or jay? You could just call them blues. You could just call them jays. I don't like it when names have redundancies on them. Makes me waste an entire word on nothing. I gotta go poo now. Thank you guys. This is one of the greatest services. Capillo! Of course, Capillo likes to run under the garage door when it's opening or closing. Why? Because she's a silly kitty. That's why. Now I don't know whether it's open or closed. It's open. I guess it was open in the first place, and I was closing it when I meant to open it. Kapia ran back in because she's like, I better get back in there before it closes. So it was closing. Her running under past the sensor thing made it stop and go back up again. The kids always has the weird stalk like that. None of the creatures will touch, it seems. Mix? I still don't know what that means, even when you've asterisked the word mix. So, I remain unable to draw a conclusion about what you mean there. Either because don't know how you're using certain of the words. I don't know what creatures refers to. Not sure what touching it refers to. Well, I mean, I know what touching means, but I don't know what the it refers to. It's an indefinite pronoun, you know. Until and unless its reference is clear. Kind of like that. I mean, it's a personal pronoun, but it's what I'm basically saying is that without the antecedent to the pronoun, I just don't know what you're referring to. Now, I do have my modesty pants on. Apparently, yesterday or the day before, I don't remember when it was exactly. My risky thought that I'll start streaming in my hugs and then put my modesty pants on when I get around to it. Well, it went awry. And in fact, some people were able to see me in some portion of my hugs. I'm not sure what portion during some point in that stream. So this morning before I started streaming, naturally, I made sure to put my modesty pants on. Because bun huggers are my intimate garments. Bun huggers are like man lingerie. They don't really have man lingerie, do they? You burb all you want, Mrs. Mom. You burb till your heart's content. I think it's interesting that Berbera isn't a woman's name, but Barbara is. Berbera. I think Berbera is a slightly better name than Barbara. I don't think anybody would disagree with that. I also think a good name for a girl would be Darbara with a D. Why should only B get Arbora? We could have Darbora, Harbora, Garbora, Carbora, Marbora, Narbora, Parbora, Quarbora. Quarbora. It doesn't really roll off the tongue. Santa Barbara is a place in California. Santa means Santa Claus. Barbara means Barbara. So basically, they named the town because half the residents wanted to call it Santa Claus, and half the residents wanted to call it Barbara. So they settled on Santa Barbara. Personally, I wish they'd called it Santa Claus. I know there's a town in America named Christmas, but is there a town in America named Santa Claus? Or, why not be woke? How about calling it Mrs. Claus? Or just call it Christmas Mythology Town. Christmas Mythology Town is a good name. Hello. There could be plaques all over town. On this spot in 1849, Santa Claus crashed his sleigh in what at the time was known as the Christmas fiasco of the century. And it turned out that the Harlem Globetrotters had the same Christmas that time. And at the hotel, there's a plaque that says, the Harlem Globetrotters stayed here when they saved Christmas in the Christmas fiasco of the century in 1849. So, the thing is, studies have shown there's a direct correlation between plaques and tourist traffic. The more plaques you have, the more tourists you get. So, in Christmas Mythology Town, literally every 3 feet of every street there's a plaque commemorating some event. There's a plaque that says, on this spot, town founding fathers decided to put up a lot of plaques in town. That's how into plaques this place is. The dentist office refuses to do any cleaning because they want people to preserve their plaque. That's how into plaques this town is. I'm standing up, but you can't see below my belt at my PP. I've got my MODESTYPANTSNY because they are modesty pants. There. Modesty pants galore. If you like modesty and you like pants, you're going to love new modesty pants, known as the most modest pants on the market. Are you tired of Daisy Dukes revealing too much of your thighs? Try modesty pants today. With modesty pants, no one will ever say about you, why are you dressed like such a slut? And isn't that really what we're all after? Isn't that all we really all want? Is to not be condemned as a slutty whore. That's all I want in life. Which is why I've made a real commitment to well, look, the bottom line is I want to continue my line of thought while I'm pooping, whatever that might be. So I could do it with you outside the bathroom, but I was very careful because I did not reveal anything below my waist to you, even while it was briefly exposed. Now, the pooping part, to tell you the truth, every time you see me pooping, I'm not actually pooping. It's acting. Normally, I'm pretty authentic around here, but it's all part of the act, yeah. I actually pooped completely before I started the stream. And, but I like to give the people what they want, so I acted like I was pooping. And I'm a really good actor, so it was pretty authentic. I even had little stage poops, they call them, to drop into the water so you could hear a slight plop. It's important to keep a supply of stage poops on hand for every instance when I need to act like I'm pooping. I want it to be convincing. Normally I don't go behind the fourth wall like this and reveal my trade secrets to you, but this time, why not? It's okay. Because, and I'm not supposed to tell you this, but I'm actually an AI creation. Just a fake person, fake voice, all generated by a computer. I use stage poops. Acacia, stage poops. They have the same sound when they fall in water as poop does. That's what they're for. But they're actually just made out of some sort of plastic composite resin thing. I don't know. Look, the other thing is, okay, to switch gears, and let's pretend I wasn't acting. The problem isn't me. It's that you guys apparently are like a laxative. Every time I start streaming, I have to poop. So, I don't know if it's one of you in particular who's here a lot, because it's not always the case I poop. It might be just, say, Ruben R. is the laxative. He has a laxative effect. It might be Winston's mom, could be Boba Fett. Maybe they each have a mild laxative effect. Together, it's strengthened. Oh, you put a TP cutlet on the water. I see. Nice use of cutlet. A toilet paper cutlet is the correct terminology for what you're doing there. It's called a sound privatizer. You want to be a human laxative? As you go up, shake someone's hand, they're like, "Ooh, excuse me, I'll be right back." Well, Boba Fett. At all costs, do I avoid ever pooping in a public restroom. Like, it better be pressing, or I'm gonna find a better place to poop. Like, I'd rather poop outside on the ground by the highway than have to use a public restroom. Like, when I have to go pee, I'll never go into a public restroom. If I can find any place behind some bushes or something, I'll just pee outside rather than go into a stinky and gross public restroom. So, yeah, I try not to do that myself. Occasionally there's a pressing, urgent need, and then you have no choice. In which case, you bring out your portable biohazard suit and toilet sterilizing kit. you know, which is bleach, napalm, a few other ingredients to make sure that the grossness of the public toilet doesn't touch your butt. Last time I sat on a public toilet, my butt complained for a week and a half about how little respect I was showing it. I mean, the left cheek was more of a complainer than the right one, but the right cheek's always been a bit of a trooper. Left cheek seems to be FI. And you know, me and right cheek will be like, can you be more of a team player? Meanwhile, it's like, no, I refuse to sit. Not after you sat me on that awful toilet. My left cheek's a woman. My right cheek's a man. It could have been that the right cheek was the emotional. It just happens to be that the womanly cheek is emotional. Emotionality doesn't correlate with gender very well. I mean, there's a small correlation probably because it might be the case that there are more feeling types among the females, but it's not relevant to anything. Like it's just incidental if it is that way. But I'm not even sure if it is that way. So anyway, as I've mentioned before, my views on these live streams have just about doubled since I mean, in fact, they've slightly more than doubled since I switched to vertical streaming. And you can see it this morning as I've been looking at these numbers up here as they're going from 7 to 10 to 12 to 15 to 12 to 10 to 7 to 12 to 12 to 15 because people are checking it out briefly, not liking it and leaving. Even though I think I'm doing a pretty good job of streaming right now, you know, people are looking for what they're looking for, right? They're not necessarily looking for a good stream that's good according to my criteria, or even a stream that's objectively not bad. So if this stream were to be objectively bad, it would be the case that it might be that too. Again, your fault, not mine. So in other words, like if this were objectively a bad stream, when you'd come in, I'd be away from the camera or bending over to pick something up and going, some shit like that, you know. But this at least is carrying forward with a continual pattern of speech. So it offers ongoing background content that is expressing something. Anybody who might potentially just be looking for background talking, this might meet their needs. I've been told, or I've told recently, although I'm not told this very often, I've told recently that I have a pleasant sounding voice. So that's another possible thing that people might be who just happen to check out the stream because it's hitting these other feeds that I didn't hit before I switched to vertical. You know, some of them it might be in there, right in their wheelhouse of stuff they want to listen to. Do I like Burger King? I enjoyed it fine yesterday. I went to Burger King yesterday when I went to the store. I was hungry and I went through the drive-thru, got a burger and fries and a drink. But the reason I went through Burger King specifically is it is the only drive-thru in Mariposa. I know. If you have a one drive-thru in Mariposa, why would it be a Burger King? I wonder the same question. It's like if everybody here, the 7 people over here, if you have an opinion on this, if your town had just one fast food drive-thru, what would you choose? Would you choose McDonald's, Taco Bell, what? Would anybody choose Burger King? I don't think so. It's like Burger King's fine, but is Burger King anybody's favorite fast food restaurant? No. It's always like, oh, well, there's not really anything here except a Burger King. Let's go to Burger King. What is your favorite Super Mario character? And did you watch the Super Mario movie? I did not watch the Super Mario movie. I guess my favorite Super Mario character, I mean, I don't exactly have one, but maybe Peach? She seems nice. I mean, there's nothing particularly disagreeable about Peach. Seems like a pleasant lady, and I guess she needs to be rescued a lot. So there's if you that kind of makes her high maintenance, I guess. If she's constantly like, it's kind of like Liam Neeson's kid, right? Will you stop getting taken already? Any sane Liam Neeson would say that. I want to see like Taken, the golden years, when Liam Neeson's like 90 and his daughter's like 60 or something. She gets taken again. This time to do housework in Romania. Well, thank you, naturally toot. I actually don't particularly like these glasses, but I cannot find my other pair of glasses right now. So I have no choice but to wear these ones. At least while I'm just reading things on the phone. If I were to return inside, then I would be able to read the chats on the big screen TV, and I would not need to wear my glasses. Unfortunately, or fortunately, depending on your perspective, if you want me to look like I'm wearing ladies' glasses, then fortunately, I am out here in the garage. Well, why are you sitting in the garage, Eric? Why not sit inside the house? Well, I'll tell you, it rhymes with poking. That's right. The highly interesting activity called smoking. Is it really an activity? Is smoking an activity? Nobody answered my question about if you had one drive-through to pick for your whole town to have, and we have one in our whole town, would you pick Burger King? No. Nobody would say, for my town's one drive-through restaurant, I pick Burger King. So tell me, which one would you pick? Personally, I would pick McDonald's. Or, I mean, maybe In-N-Out. If I could pick In-N-Out, I'd pick In-N-Out probably. Although In-N-Out's not open for breakfast. So that's one of the advantages of McDonald's. But either McDonald's or In-N-Out. Assuming I'm going to have a drive-through fast food restaurant for my town, just one, I'd pick either McDonald's or In-N-Out. How Dry Bones, I've never even heard of Dry Bones. Is Yoshi, oh, you're talking about which is your favorite Mario character? You're not talking about fast food restaurants. I mean, obviously, a drive-through Panda Express wouldn't be terrible. Does such a thing exist? Are there any drive-through Panda Expresses? And if not, then shouldn't they remove the word express from their name? I think they should. There don't seem to be any drive-through Subways. Subway's like the only fast food restaurant that can get away without having a drive-through for some reason. Freddy's? I don't know what Freddy's is. Well, another question, of course, is who's your favorite Pokemon character? Mine is Meowth. It's either Jesse James or Meowth. I'm going to go with Meowth. Poor Team Rocket. How frustrated they must get after a while. They're like the Washington Generals of anime characters. Anyhow, still soliciting responses to the question, if you had one drive-through in your whole town and you could choose any fast food place to pick, what would you pick? I dare anybody to honestly say they'd pick Burger King. I don't think anybody would. Burger King is the best at nothing and questionable on drinks. The thing about the key element of any fast food choice is knowing what you're going to get to drink first. If you're going to get a fountain drink, then you have to be careful of every place other than McDonald's and In-N-Out. They reliably have fountain drinks mixed properly, right amount of carbonation, etc. Other places, like Jack in the Box, cannot figure out how to make a goddamn soda. You'd go Foster's Freeze? Okay, that's an interesting choice. Do they have a drive-thru? I guess some of them probably do. Chick-fil-A? Chick-fil-A is not a terrible choice, but you'll get sick of chicken sandwiches after a while. It's not like they have a really diverse menu. You might point out, well, In-N-Out doesn't have a very diverse menu, Eric. They just got burgers and fries. Yeah, but that's In-N-Out. Chick-fil-A is like the chicken sandwich version of In-N-Out, sort of. But also, I don't like too much customer service. Like, just, dude, you take my order. Yeah. I don't want a bunch of, how you doing today? Oh my gosh. I don't need all that nonsense, okay? Well, we're talking about a drive-through fast food restaurant. Okay, that's the frame of reference here. Is that my town has exactly one drive-through fast food restaurant, and it's Burger King. And my question is, Mariposa is not the kind of place that really approves development projects like drive-through fast food restaurants, which is why we only have one of them. What was the context in which they approved a Burger King? And not, like there's a Subway in town, but it's in the storefront. And it's the only drive-through in town is Burger King. There's not a drive-through anything else. Not a drive-through bank. There's not a... okay, no. Check that. Rite Aid's got a drive-through pharmacy. But... Burger King? The town tries to make an effort to be quaint. It's kind of a tourist destination. And to be mom and pop kind of boutique stores, not chains, local one-off restaurants, like the good restaurants in town are Charles Street, Frederick's of Savory, 1850, not Outback Steakhouse or shit like that, right? Or Ruth Chris or whatever. BK is good. Single whop Texas style, no tomatoes, go easy on the mayo. Sheesh. They do go a little heavy on the mayo. People are defending Burger King. Wow. I think the Burger King does a good job of putting enough salt on its fries. Burger King fries are typically quite salty, which they need to be. All fries need to be quite salty. If you are, no such drive-through exists, okay? That you'd have to wait in the drive-through line an indefinite amount of time, depending on how ready the guys in front of you were. That just sounds like a really frustrating drive-through wait. I don't like to wait in lines. But I tell you what really won the prize for ridiculous drive-through line was the Jack in the Box we used to go to in Arcadia that was near the freeway. Supposed to be open 24 hours a day. It never was. They were always put cones out at random times. Sometimes like at 8 o'clock at night. It'd have cones there, no explanation, just like cones in front of the drive-through, nobody inside. It was weird. And even when there were people working there, you'd have one person in front of you in line and wait like 20 minutes because they were so incompetent. It was the worst Jack in the Box I have ever been to. They couldn't make sodas that tasted like anything but garbage. It always tasted like blue sharks. They just have a bunch of arms sticking out of a hole in the wall to address the bottleneck. Please pull forward to the next available armhole. Be your way. Can I have my way? Do I have to be it? I've noticed that Burger King advertises a lot. Like all their advertisements just have black people in them. Because I think that uh, black black people eat at Burger King more or something. I don't know. But have you noticed that? Burger King commercials only have black people in them? It's true. Burger Kinks is a better name for a burger place. I think Burger Surf. No, their motto should be, nobody ever says we didn't put enough mayo. Yeah, I got mayoed out by that burger. So I didn't finish it, but I wasn't that hungry. I had my lunch, I ate half of the burger. I got like, I don't know, bacon meow meow burger. The bacon meow meow is one of Burger King's best sellers. So, you know. Of course, Burger King is one of many fast food places. It's still, well, at least Jack in the Box, including even In-N-Out, that do not put your cream in your coffee for you. McDonald's has a huge advantage accordingly. If you're gonna go get coffee someplace, first of all, McDonald's has good coffee. It tastes good. But second of all, I don't want to have to stop after I've gotten out of the drive-thru, park someplace, open a bunch of little creamers, take the lid off the coffee, pour them all in, put the lid back on. I don't want to have to do that. They need to put it in the coffee for me. McDonald's is smart. They do that. Well, the best thing at Burger King that they don't have is the chicken Parmesan sandwich. I used to love that as a kid. They don't have it anymore. They need to re-continue it. That was the only true thing that made Burger King stand out as some reason to go to Burger King. It was the chicken Parmesan sandwich. I mean, when I was in Arcadia, even though I'd feel guilty about it, I'd periodically DoorDash McDonald's coffee. Yeah, like the chicken Parmesan sandwich was fantastic. Why don't they have it anymore? They have the regular chicken sandwich, which is also on that same kind of bun, but instead of being good, it's just slathered with mayo. So somebody should tell Burger King that if they at least bring back their one good sandwich, I might occasionally think, oh, I could go for a chicken Parmesan sandwich right now. Those are good. That's ridiculous. Why? Because they're called Whoppers, but the patties aren't unusually large. That's insane. I can't believe a judge let that go forward. It's ridiculous. That's some specious litigation right there. Someone's like, Burger King's got deep pockets. Who could we sue for something? Well, a good meatball sub is fine. You're not going to get that at a drive-through fast food restaurant, though. You probably have to go to, say, I don't know, Togo's. There is a Togo's. Togo's went out of business, I thought, but we saw one in, maybe even when we went there. I think it was in Modesto, but I could be wrong about that. I'm pretty sure it was in Modesto. So I was surprised to see it because I had read something that said Togo's had gone bankrupt and was out of business, but there's at least one of them left. When I was in college, I used to eat at Togo's a lot because there were a couple of them in Santa Cruz, like near Santa Cruz. There's one in Cabrillo, which is right one town down the highway from Santa Cruz. College was not all bad. You know, when I think about, I liked the place. I liked Santa Cruz. I liked Cabrillo. I liked going out in the ocean, surfing my little baby waves. I liked, I liked the forests around Santa Cruz. One time I saw something that supposedly doesn't exist that far south, which is a gray lynx. Well, Papa John's won its lawsuit. It's allowed to continue using the slogan, um, better ingredients, better pizza, because the courts ruled that it was fluff, not an actual claim. Fluff like world's greatest pizza, you know. It's treated as not an actual claim, just fluff. And therefore it's acceptable to say, you know, world's greatest pizza on your sign without running afoul of liability for false advertising. Winston's mom, stones are not a good topping for pizzas. Right? That's how you break your teeth. They also won an N-word pass in that lawsuit? Did they? You must be joking. It's just fluff. Corn dogs and french fries, huh? Corn dogs are a good quick option for the microwave, you know. We don't get them, but I could see us having a week or two where we do have corn dogs, eat them occasionally. They're good, you just put mustard on them is all. You don't put ketchup, which is interesting because they're a hot dog, essentially. But just changing from bun to whatever that stuff is around a corn dog, makes ketchup unnecessary and even undesirable. Isn't that interesting? Just like if you switch from a hot dog to a bratwurst. If you have a bratwurst, and, well, because he's no longer really affiliated with the company. Yeah, that would be absurd, right? Papa John has been afforded by legislation same kind of special exclusion that Major League Baseball had when it had its antitrust exclusion They eventually got rid of it, but they made a similar exclusion for Papa John. Seems like Shaq basically is in charge of that company now. By Shaq, I mean Shaquille O'Neal, former basketball player, current ad spokesperson. It's interesting to see, like, the NIL shit playing out. Caleb Williams is all over TV in his commercials for Dr. Pepper, and he's got a couple other commercials. I can't remember what they are at the moment. But it's understandable why Caleb Williams would be an NIL um, home run, because he's the quarterback for USC, which means he's the primary quarterback really in Los Angeles. Los Angeles is not an NFL town. Yes, there's the Rams. People don't really care about them. People care about either USC or UCLA football. That's Los Angeles. Just how it goes. When the NFL was like, if you don't put public money up for a stadium, you won't get it to have a team, Los Angeles. We were like, great, we'll get to see more football games on TV. Fuck you, NFL. We're not giving you any public money for a stadium. We don't care about professional football very much. So anyway, Caleb Williams is the quarterback of USC, which is the football team in Los Angeles, really, because there are plenty of UCLA fans, don't get me wrong, but UCLA is year after year after year after year after year not as good as USC. So obviously, people like a winner. SC's kicking all kinds of ass right now. Caleb Williams is the Heisman Trophy winner. He's handsome and he's socially graceful. So he's just an NIL home run. And the cool thing about NIL is for college players who are successful, they've got a practical advantage to staying in college now. Like Caleb Williams knows as long as he's a USC quarterback, he can make good money on NIL shit. When he goes to the pros, well, if he doesn't do well in the pros, like he's not very successful, and or if he gets hurt and has a short career, then he's gonna fall right back onto his Heisman Trophy winning USC quarterback history and make commercials like Reggie Bush does. Reggie Bush makes commercials that reference not his professional career, but the fact that he won the Heisman Trophy and had it taken away from him. Those Wendy's commercials are great because that was the most horrible travesty of justice ever in the history of college football. That they took Reggie Bush's Heisman Trophy away and that they invalidated that USC season over absolutely fucking nothing, right? Is just a travesty. The NCAA needs to restore Reggie Bush's Heisman Trophy and revalidate all those invalidated games. Complete fucking garbage. Anyway, the point is, people aren't dumb. They recognize that their football career is not going to last forever. And if they want to continue to make good money without having to do anything really, then they need to sustain their advertising capital. Well, what's a better way for Caleb Williams to do that than to stay for his senior year next year and win another Heisman Trophy? If he could win 3 of them, because he might win it this year too, then he's set for life. He doesn't even have to play professional football. He could just do ads the rest of his life. And it's not like he has to wait to have money now. It used to be that even if you were a college player who could know for sure that you were going to have a lucrative advertising after you graduated from college, it didn't matter because excellent. Wow, that's recent too. Thank you, Winston's mom. That's great. Um, so Caleb Williams right now is making excellent money doing advertisements. Yes, he will make even more money when he gets drafted and gets a multi-million dollar contract by a professional team. But long term, financially, it probably makes the most sense for him to stay in college his senior year. Yes, there's a chance he'll get injured, and then that will affect his draft status. But he's more likely to get injured in the pros than he is in college. And regardless, being still in college will allow him to continue his current kind of NIL shit unabated, and he'll keep making money regardless. If he gets a career-ending injury his senior year, it would probably be a net loss for him. But on balance, it would seem to be not a bad financial decision for him to stay in college for his senior year. So thanks to NIL, college football retains its players much better than it did prior. You don't have you don't have sophomores going into their junior year instead declaring for the draft anymore, which I think was the earliest you could declare for the draft. It might be after your junior year. I think it's after your sophomore year. I think it's actually age. It's like you have to be 20 or something to declare for the draft in the NFL. So anyway, I like the new landscape of college football with the transfer portal, the NIL deals, stuff like that. I like the collapse of existing conferences, and probably eventually what people are saying is we should just get rid of conferences entirely in college football and just let the schools, I guess, schedule whoever they want to play. Just let the schools work it out among themselves, who they're going to play. It's really not necessary to have conferences because, yes, there's some satisfaction in being conference champion, but when you have a college football playoff that's expanding to 12 teams, then nobody's going to care about conference championships anyway. They're all going to want their team to make one of those 12 and make the playoffs and win the national championship, right? So there's just not really any reason to have conferences anymore. Oh, you mean Papa John's is inconsistent with their apostrophe? Shame on them. Apostrophe consistency is next to godliness. Yeah, well, the NCAA is scrambling to retain any kind of meaningful role in college football, frankly. And I don't think they're going to hold out particularly long on this. I think the NCAA is probably going to say, okay, well, how about we give you back your Heisman Trophy and you stop suing us? I suspect that's what's going to happen. And then Reggie Bush might say, well, you give me back my Heisman Trophy plus $1 million. And the NCAA will be like, okay, here, can we just not talk about this anymore? I bet you that's what's going to happen because they don't have a case at all. The NCAA fucked up in that whole USC investigation. that pushed Pete Carroll out ultimately, put us on probation and shit like that, or we were not bowl eligible for a couple of years or some bullshit like that. They did not have a case. They totally railroaded USC without any kind of justifications. Yeah, well, Kiera, or however you say that name, um, definitely overreached. It was the case that you probably got a little bit of a happy trigger finger in removing a comment that just said hi. But contextually, I totally understand why it happened. And you're the opposite of the Gestapo. You're extremely fair and reasonable. You don't overreach, you know, normally. Every cop accidentally shoots somebody occasionally. You know, we're gonna make a big deal about it. He thought she was calling you a Gestapo nurse. I mean, what do we think about nurses who worked for the Gestapo? Were they doing a good thing because they were healing people? Or were they doing a bad thing because they were healing the wrong people? That's a good reason. Mrs. Mom, I didn't see the channel. That last bit is plenty of reason to uh, to nix the person. We don't want those people around. Ethnic healing. I got my degree in ethnic healing. I heal people. It's fine, Mrs. Mom. If we scare away a few customers, that's fine. I don't really like to work. I have to work 2 times today. What? When did this become Hell Week? That's what they call a certain week of football practice during the summer. Hell Week. A lot of different sort of competition things use that expression, I suppose. Moon Faye, 11. Good morning to you as well. It is wonderful to see you. I believe today is Thursday. That means PE closed day here, obviously. But it also means that tomorrow is Friday. Rachel and I need to go to the supermarket today to get her prescription drugs. So we will be making a trip into town, which means we're going to have to navigate the cone putters, of course, who have made their way almost to the Jersey Dale Ranger Station at this point. They're getting pretty close to the Jersey Dale Ranger Station, which is pretty quick progress, really. I'm impressed by how quickly they're moving towards our house. But it's funny, the first time I made fun of the Caltrans people a little bit and called them flag putters, because before they put cones, they drove around and they put the orange flags all over the place. And I was teasing them, saying like, these flag putters are just, why does anybody have this job? Put flags around. It's just, come on, you flag putters. Do something more productive than just putting flags. And Rachel really kind of relished the term and me making fun of the flag putters. And then when they started just putting cones, just calling them cone putters, she reiterated she really liked that word, cone putters. And she seemed to have a little animosity towards towards the whole profession. Um, that was my first clue that that Rachel had dated a cone putter. But I didn't really put two and two together until I'm like, oh, it's Saturday. They probably, you'd imagine they'd be not working today. And then Rachel's like, no, what they do is they put a crew together and then they go work and they get overtime. And that's when I realized, oh, one of Rachel's ex-boyfriends, probably one she feels negatively about, was a cone putter. Finally, I said to her, I guess yesterday I was trying to say, so who did you know that was a cone putter, Rachel? Sure enough, it was her BPD ex-boyfriend, Harris. For whom she clearly has lingering animosity. Anyway, I actually think the cone putters around here do a pretty darn good job. Since we've been here, they finished the Dara Road Bridge, which was under construction when we first got here. They finished all the removal of the big dead burned trees by the road in the Conservancy area from the burns, not this past summer, but the summer before, primarily, and the one before that, lesser. So, and they have made a great deal of progress burying the power lines in the road. So, they seem to do a pretty good job. Seems like most of the cone putters, the majority of them, work for the site safety crew. At least half of the cone putters are just there to be site safety people and manage the traffic going each way around this one lane road, because they have to shut down one lane to dig a trench and put the power lines down there. I will try to make more shorts. I've been trying to make more shorts. The cone putting song is pretty good, but I actually like, the cone putting song doesn't have any guitar to it. Sign Holders has guitar to it, okay? Sign holder, be safe and wear your hard hat, bright green safety vest and modesty pants. Your sign says slow, but you wave me fast as my wife and I confusedly drive past. That's Sign Holders. Sign Holders, cone putters, they're two parts of a trilogy. The third of which is, I'm not sure yet. Could be Trench Digger. The Trench Digger has a very big machine. Well, the thing is, Boba Fett, like, I got 5,000 views yesterday on the shorts I uploaded. I got under 100 views on one of the best videos I've ever made, which was the Martin versus Boise video, which sums up in 2 minutes a complex legal issue and provides the solutions to it, the possible solutions to it, in an amazing, shocking bit of NI glory. I fucking nailed that 2 minutes. One of the best videos I've ever made. One of the most important videos I've ever made. And it's got under 100 views. That's a good policy, Ruben. It's the same idea of basically doing an anti-tip. So I let the waitress know before I order, look, right now your tip is minus 10%, which means I'm going to pay less than 10% of the bill and you have to cover the difference. If you do a good job, you can get to 0, 5, 10. If you do a fantastic job, you can get 15%. And my mind is so blown that I say I've never received better service in a restaurant. You can work your way all the way up to 20%. I force them to agree with it before I order. If they don't, I report them to the police for child abuse. Because I'm a baby. Right, just make the server mad, have them be rude to you, then you can justify not providing any tip. That's why I always say, when she brings my food, I always say to her, I think it's great that this restaurant is hiring special needs people like you to work, but it's not really customer friendly. Toxic ENFJ tips. Basically, the tip is this, Ruben. Keep meowing until the man does as you command. I typically default to 20, but I overtip if the bill's small. Not especially did I tend to overtip when I was drinking. I don't like tipping when gambling at all, but I will occasionally. I don't like tipping the dealer. I don't like tipping the dealer at a table game either. I'm there to try to double my bankroll, not to bleed chips from tipping. But I do occasionally if I get like a really big hand or something. I tip the lady who brings me coffee. I always like tip her $5 or something. Yeah. Do I tip my car salesman? No, I don't. We tipped I didn't actually, but Rachel's parents did, so I felt like I didn't need to. I didn't have cash. I was gonna tip on the check that we wrote. So anyway, I just had to accept that Rachel's parents' tips were adequate for the caterer. That's too much tipping, Ruben. Chilton, Wisconsin. This Burns-O-Matic was made in one of my favorite towns, Chilton, Wisconsin. I've never been there, but they do a great job of making Burns-O-Matics. So good job to you. You know what I saw at the hardware store yesterday? They have a Burns-O-Matic for yard things. It's like it's much larger than this. It's like so you can start brush fires and shit for controlled burns. I didn't get it. I don't need that really. Although I was thinking, if we get another heavy winter, then the thing to get really, that was recommended to me for de-icing your driveway is a roofing torch. It takes a 5-gallon propane thing, and it's got she does need new earbuds, that's true. I mean, earbuds? earbuds or earbuds, wireless earbuds. She does need those, yes, but um, we're trying to currently stay on a kind of an arbitrarily set budget, and this month has had $2,200 in one-time unusual expenses, right? So, so we're trying to wait till the middle of October when our budget month is up, and then after that, we're going to. Airbud is a movie about a dog, but Airbuds is a good name also for wireless earbuds. Um, the bottom line is Rachel needs hearing aids, so we're gonna go to an audiologist, maybe like someplace in Merced. I'm not sure where we're gonna go, but we're gonna. That's our next big expense for October is um, hearing aids because one of Rachel's ears is basically deaf, more or less. No, she had an ear infection as a kid, and one of her ears got messed up. Then they tried to do surgery to repair it, and it was kind of botched, and it didn't work. So her other ear, it doesn't seem to me is great either. It's like I think the hearing in her good ear is less good than the hearing in either of my ears. So we're gonna try to remedy that with hearing aids, and I am uh, hopeful that it's a bit of a life changer for her, as she's read that it can be. I'm also trying to hopefully do something about her neuropathy. She basically can't feel her feet at all, and I'm trying to address that with frequent takings of B12. I can't really tell for sure whether it's making a difference with me or not. It certainly isn't some sort of instantaneous cure, but and my neuropathy has been very slowly getting better anyway. Um, but I wish I could fix that. We don't have Medi-Cal. We're not really into health insurance, Mrs. Mom. At this point, I see buying health insurance as just offering my tacit approval to the Affordable Care Act, which I do not approve of at all. I mean, health insurance, this notion of a middleman between the consumer and the healthcare provider is already was doomed from the start as horribly misguided. If we didn't have any middlemen health insurance peoples between you and your healthcare provider, everybody would pay way less in healthcare costs. Way, way less. It is not a good deal for you to have health insurance. Even though we've had some reasonably large healthcare costs this year, including a lot of money on prescription drugs, it still is less than we would pay if we both had health insurance and monthly premiums. So be smart. There's absolutely no reason to have health insurance. If you're worried about, well, what if I get cancer or something, then get catastrophic health care coverage, which is to say it's got a high deductible, covers nothing but serious shit after you meet that high deductible. It's the only way to go. The only thing that makes any sense at all. In America, yeah. Well, if you don't live in America, then stop listening to this because it doesn't apply to you. It's supposedly mandatory for individuals to purchase health insurance, but that's clearly unconstitutional. It's run into a variety of problems when it's been challenged in the courts, and as a consequence, the purported tax on not having health insurance is not being enforced. Somebody with diabetes for sure would do better with insurance than without. Why? I mean, they need insulin. They have to watch what they eat. They have to check their blood sugar. But why do they have to go to the doctor all the time? Basically, if you don't have cancer or some kind of serious fatal thing like Alzheimer's disease or whatever, then you definitely shouldn't have health insurance. Even if you have significant health problems, you shouldn't have more than catastrophic health insurance. One of the many problems is why should the corporations in charge of the finances not pocket the money? I mean, the big problem is this. Because of health insurance, a bottle of Vyvanse, 70 milligrams, costs $400 because almost nobody pays all of that money themselves. Almost everybody, the insurance company pays half, 3/4 of it, maybe more. If, in fact, individual human beings were paying for the drug, they could not charge that much. People wouldn't buy it. People couldn't afford it. If, in fact, people were paying out of pocket for drugs, then a bottle of 30s and a bottle of 40s would cost the same as a bottle of 70s. Of course, there's no logic in pricing of things in healthcare because of health insurance. Because when the insurance company is paying the bill, nobody on the ground seems to feel as though any human being is paying for anything. Which is why when Rachel went to this nurse practitioner in Temple City, and we were looking for a solution and provided her all the information she needed, she, instead of prescribing the drug they prescribed to treat serotonin syndrome, which we told her she had, she said, you need to get insurance so we can run a lot of tests. Because from her perspective, as long as you have insurance, nobody's paying for all these tests. And it doesn't matter if they're helpful or not. Test for everything, just so we can eliminate possibilities that aren't even indicated by the symptoms. That way, this ESTJ nurse practitioner wouldn't have to use any intuition at all and would have an endless amount of data to look at. And remember, nobody was paying for it, right? Nobody, because she had Obamacare insurance. How cute. Yeah, everybody's paying for it. It's destroying the economy. It's an absolute disgrace and a disgusting abdication of TE. Like, it's terrible TE to structure things so that costs rise continually, so that healthcare, instead of being directed, individuated to an individual's need or lack of need, it's promoted as a good thing to get preventative healthcare all the time, which increases costs massively and does no good whatsoever. Because what do we see? We see things like my mom, right? My mom did everything they advised in all of the magazines and everything to keep her brain sharp and avoid getting Alzheimer's disease. But the fact is, our bodies are not particularly responsive to specifics, right? Like whether or not I get cancer has vastly less to do with whether I smoke than my genetics. Whether or not I am obese has almost nothing to do with my diet and everything to do with my genetics. All of these things are true. So it's critical that we have a flexible kind of understanding of healthcare that encourages people who are healthy to not go to the doctor. If you have health insurance, you're supposed to go to checkups periodically. Why? Why would you do that? There's nothing wrong with you until there is something wrong with you. If you're not in distress, indicating to you that there's something wrong with you, why in the world would you go to the doctor? You're wasting either your money or, much more likely, everybody's money by doing unnecessary shit on the health insurance's dime because you're paying massive amounts a year in premium, so well, you might as well get something out of it. That's a recipe for an economy-destroying clusterfuck of a disaster. We need to eliminate it entirely if we want to be smart. The correct way to deal with health insurance is not to have health insurance that covers all your visits to the doctor. It's to have high deductible, requiring you to pay out of pocket for every bit of health insurance, healthcare, until you reach that deductible. That will dissuade you from unnecessarily utilizing healthcare resources, which is what we want to do, not incentivize it for fuck's sake. Incentivizing people to unnecessarily use healthcare is the worst idea ever. Maybe accepting Martin versus Boise, that Supreme Court havoc-inducing clusterfuck of a disaster of a ruling that denies the public ownership of the public space. Horrible. If you had anybody with any fucking brains in government running things like me, these kind of nightmarishly bad things wouldn't occur. I would shame the living fuck out of anybody advocating for this nonsense until they realize, oh shit, I'm too stupid and uninformed to have an opinion about this. Fucking tards. The world is full of tards. I gotta go. I got a typing session in 15 minutes. Everybody needs to get yelled at by me. If we want to fix this country, Eric needs to be vastly more empowered to yell at people. The only way we're going to fix shit. We need to shame the intellectual children until they get out of politics entirely. Just don't vote, don't think about it, just stay the fuck away. Leave it to us intelligent adults. We are few, but we can handle things ourselves. Thank you very much. You know, I really like this machete. It turned out to be a great purchase. I was using it to cut boxes down the other day. It's really got a good feel to it, you know. It's not too heavy, but it's got some heft. It's comfortable in the hand. It doesn't have any serrations on it, so it's good for nice, sharp kind of things. However, last night when I went outside to clear away 2 branches from my ashtray over here, I discovered that the machete was not robust enough to chop it because the branches were both too flexible and too sturdy. So as you see here, I've cut away the branches that were covering over my ashtray. But these branches are too sturdy to chop with a machete, given how flexible they are. You try to chop it, it just goes like this way, you know. So that's what the kind of branches I was chopping. So I had to get the loppers to chop those branches off, which I did. And now I have an ashtray with no shot blockers in front of it. I can just drop it on in there. Call it a cigarette, you know. Hear the satisfying psst of it hitting the water and extinguishing. But this oak tree's starting to do its job better. Its job is to block view of over here from the street. When we first moved in, it wasn't really doing its job at all. It had been cut down to this stump and just had a few little sticks growing out of it. But now it's coming back into its own. It's celebrating a second shot at life. Etc. Now, I should note, it is not the case that I've never engaged any kind of government assistance for any kind of health care. One time, when I broke my hand and I was super poor, I went to County USC Hospital in Los Angeles, which you never want to go to if you could possibly avoid it. It's full of sketchy people faking things to get drugs. We waited like 16 hours, but we only had to pay $100 to get my hand fixed. So, and that was miserable. But it's absolutely appropriate. If I can't afford to get my hand fixed, and I'm going to get some sort of public assistance, I should have to go to County USC and wait in the fucking waiting room for 16 hours. That's life. That's justice. And hopefully I learned my lesson and be more careful in the future. Anyway, goodbye, good night, good luck. I love you all. And remember, if you disagree with me about political things, then just stop dealing with politics entirely. Stop thinking about it. You're not qualified. Goodbye, good night, and good luck.